Hello, welcome back to satalktoday.com. Thank you so much for logging on and joining us. I'm very, very, very super duper, uber excited. Anytime I have a woman entrepreneur, writer, mom extraordinaire doing everything, I feel super honored to have her in the room. And so today I will be having Shauna Zamarripa. Is that right?
Yes,
yay. And she is going to tell us about her amazing child, which is how we came to start really connecting with each other. And then her journey has been so inspiring, and she helps other people, and women especially as well. And so I just want to welcome you and thank you so much for coming to see me today.
Well, thank you for having me.
So tell me about the Zamarripa. I love that name.
Well, I married the first guy that asked just to get rid of my maiden name. I mean, if we're going to be completely honest, having Girly as a maiden name does not get you a whole lot of love in elementary school. So, you want to get married? Yes.
Yes. Your name is not mine.
So, people ask me all the time, oh, what's the origins of your last name? I don't know.
You're like, I have no idea. Well, yeah, I was Leva. That's my maiden name. So it was Lavia, and so forth. So when Hill came, I was like, you're sweet, and you have a really easy last name. I super duper uber love you. This is gonna be great, but for many, many other reasons, Poppy.
Well, and for second guessing it, I started thinking, oh God, every time my children learn to write, they're gonna get writer's cramp. Oh well, they'll get over it.
Life goes on, And that's the thing, is Shauna and I, we've been corresponding on Facebook, which I love, thank God for Facebook. After she posted a story last year that was very inspiring to me. She has raised an amazing, well, all her children are amazing, but she posted an amazing story about her child and how her child had actually helped avert an assault attack happening on another child at her school. So I'm gonna let her tell you, because I'm big into this homeschool with Lonnie right now, and this was a real life story that happened here in San Antonio. Am I correct?
Actually, it was out in Shirt-Cibolo, but
okay.
Close enough.
Close enough.
And she came home one day and she said, Mom, something amazing happened at school today. And I said, well, what happened? And she said, well, I saw my little friend Lily. She was getting drugged into the bathroom by these two boys. And she said, there were no teachers around. There was nobody I could go to. She said, so I walked over and I just flat punched one of them in the face. And I was like... And I was like, I'm not sure where this is going, but continue. And then she said, and then, the other little boy, he got scared, and, the one who I punched in the face fell to the ground, so I kicked him in the...
Okay.
And then, she says, and, I saved Lily, because when the police came, they said that they were going to rape her in the bathroom. And she said those boys got expelled from school, and... she said, I feel really good about what I did. And, me, naturally, as a mother, of course, I'm bursting with pride, but there was still that fear there going,
what?
Like, what were you thinking, baby? I mean, there were two boys there, if that ever happens again, I want you to pull a fire alarm or something, if there's no adults around. And, that was one of the reasons that we moved out of the district, because I was like, okay, maybe it's getting a little bit too rough over here. Maybe it's getting a little bit too, edgy, and maybe it's time to make a change. So we did, and couldn't be happier with that decision. But, yeah, I mean, she's one amazing little kid. I mean, she's an artist. She's so creative. She's got a mouth on her. I have no idea where she got that from. She's 13.
13, the delicious 13. And how old was Lily when your daughter did that?
She was 12.
Wow, 12 years old. That's terrifying to me.
It is.
And those kids learned it from home, and they brought that bad behavior, because no child, is born thinking this is what they want to do. And so when I read that, I was just so moved. I was just like, I had to inbox Shauna. I was like, Shauna, as a mom, like, God, I'm bursting with pride for you. I mean, obviously we never condone violence, but when someone's getting attacked, you have to stand up. And most children would probably be too afraid themselves to get involved because they don't want to get hurt. And, a lot of times kids are bullied into staying quiet about things. So huge props to you, just huge props to you. That's why I was like, okay, we're doing this show. I need to meet Shauna. I need to have her on here. I need her to tell me what is her secret. How do you instill such power and confidence in those children of yours?
You don't really instill it. You're an example. Every parent is an example. You don't tell your kids how to live. You show them how to live. And, that's one of the reasons I say, she has a mouth on her and I don't know where I got it. I know she got it from me, so God, please don't kill me. But you know, she is not afraid. She's absolutely fearless. She will say exactly what's on her mind. She has absolutely no fear of expressing herself, of being that person, and that's because for the longest time, you know, she saw me do that. You know, she's seen her sisters do that. You know, her two older sisters. And she really is the best of all combined worlds, you know, as far as the family goes, because she's just got a great head on her shoulders. She's got a lot of common sense. She's so creative and artistic. I mean, she's just a really amazing little girl.
And then especially when she does have those older siblings to look up to, she does have that confidence.
You mean pick on her?
Well, they made her tough.
Yes,
and they made her strong. And you know, I always say we're born into the vibrations and cultures and families that we were intended to help us become who we were intended to be. And so, yeah, so the other siblings have done their part as well, you know, in helping you like show her this is strength. So, you know, we are still throwing around different ideas for new shows. And there's one we want to do called Kids Talk. So maybe that one might be fun for her to come and just...
Oh, Lord. But yes, sure.
You know, we can talk about it. We're still talking. Everything's still talking. So now you've been a super strong mom, and now you've been in real estate, which is a very tough industry, especially as of late. So tell me when you started that and how you...
I started in 2007. Right when the market bottomed out, and I actually did that intentionally. I noticed that a lot of people were getting out of the business, and I figured this is the perfect time to jump in because A, there's less competition, and B, I can, you know, survive this market. I can pretty much do anything. So, you know, it was very, very easy for me to do. And I jumped in and I got a designation as a CDPE, which is a certified distressed property expert. So I was listing short sales and REO properties.
Now the short sales, that's always kind of confused me because we just got our house last year, and you know there was some really beautiful things that would say like short sale, and it always made people go, well, what does that mean?
Short sale is a misnomer because there is nothing short about a short sale.
Okay.
It is a long process. It is very involved. It is a pain in the you know what. I'm censoring myself for everyone who knows me. They know I'm censoring myself right now, and that's very hard for me. So.
Thank you. I love you. I love you.
But it basically is when a seller is unable to pay their mortgage, they negotiate with the bank to sell their home short or for less than what they owe. You know, for example, if you have a house that's $200,000 that the seller owes on it, they can negotiate with the bank and say, okay, will you take 170 and call our loan paid off? And with every single bit of paperwork or offer that comes in, there's all these addendums. I mean, your paperwork stack with a short sale is about this high.
Wow. Versus a normal
and there's a lot of paperwork in a normal real estate transaction, but with a short sale, there's a lot of extra steps you have to go through. It's almost better to look at, you know, the foreclosure market and the real estate owned properties as opposed to a short sale, because at least with those, you just go in, you make a quick bid, bam, boom, done. You know whether you get it or you don't within a few hours. You know, it's just a very simple business transaction. You know, when you're dealing with a traditional seller, and I say this because I've done it, you're dealing with emotions, you know. Well, I don't know if I want to sell because there's little Johnny's mark from when he was 6 on the door.
That would be me.
You know, and
I have the memory.
This is where the kids grew up. And no, you said you wanted to move. We're moving.
Exactly. And I've always heard too, sellers are yellers and buyers are liars.
Buyers are liars and sellers were once buyers too.
Okay.
They all have a tendency to misrepresent things from time to time, and I'm not saying all of them do, not to be offensive to anybody, but you know, I've even done blogs about that, you know, 5 reasons why buyers are liars, and you know, just different things like that, and you know, just different stories that I've heard, you know, and it's typically the, oh no, my credit's perfect, and then you know, I send them over to a loan officer and they're like, they have 37 items in collection and like $18,000 in back child support. That's
nice.
Perfect credit. I see.
Obviously, then, your definition of perfect credit and my definition are 2 different definitions.
They really just don't match up that well. So you know, people often say that, but yeah, sellers are their own animal, buyers are their own animal, and whenever I'm working with any client, I always say, before we even start, I want you as a seller to walk through this house as a buyer, as if it's the very first time you walk through it, because you're seeing it with fresh eyes, and you tell me everything that's wrong with it.
Oh.
And
that's awesome.
When it's a buyer, I often counsel them and say, okay, when we're looking for homes, we're not looking for that perfect house, because a lot of buyers get fixated on, I want the perfect house. That doesn't exist. What we want to find is the perfect location. We want to find you the best house in the nicest neighborhood. So I want you to do your homework on neighborhoods first. I want you to drive the neighborhood early in the morning and see what the traffic's like, see how many kids are in the neighborhood going to school. I want you to drive it on the weekend, you know, and see how many cars are parked on the side of the road, because, you know, that makes a difference. I want you to go look at the neighbor. How are the neighbors keeping up their houses? Or that all affects your property value. Because in 5 to 7 years, when you call to sell your house, I want to be able to say, I sold you a house that I know will have the highest and best resale value. You know, it's all about education. And the problem is, a lot of people look at real estate agents and they say, oh God, it's a salesperson, and I hate salespeople. And we all hate salespeople. I hate salespeople. I'm a self-loathing salesperson. But that's why I don't get out much. I'm too busy sitting in the house going, oh God, I hate myself.
No. You're delicious.
But you know, it's really, you're more of an educator than you are anything else. At least if you take your responsibility and fiduciary duty seriously to your client, you're really taking that upon yourself and saying, you know, I want to educate you. I don't want to sell you a house. I want to educate you on making the right decision.
And you know, I love that whole mindset of yours about the education first, because I didn't tell you this, but there was a little hiatus I took from my fitness world and my little Zumba, Pilates, massage world, and I did do the real estate back in, I want to say maybe 99, 2000. And my broker was a woman broker at the time, and you know, I'm very like, yes, I want to work on a woman, because a woman understands how a woman's brain works more, you know, than a man just has it very much. And I'm like, it's not that simple. And but they were training me to be a salesperson. They weren't training me to educate. And it was the shortest lived little real estate agency blip anyone has probably ever done. This sweet lady called me and she's like, Jacqui, I'm moving down to McAllen. I got to check on my mom. She had a stroke. I'm not sure if I want to lease out my house or sell it. She goes, depending on how much financial need my mom's going to need. She goes, so I'll leave the keys with my neighbor and I'll call you in 2 weeks and tell you what I think I should do. And I'm like, okay, great. So 2 weeks calls, you know what, I'm gonna have to sell the house. My mom needs me to move in. I need to really help her as much as I can. And I was like, awesome. So I get all excited. I get the little MLS, the little cards out. I make my little business things, and I go and I open up, and it happened to be in August, the hottest month of the year. And nobody bothered to tell me that the electricity had already been cut off. And, you know, and I'm just wearing my cutest little suit and my heels, and I'm gonna do my first open house, and I'm just so proud. And I walk in, and I can just feel my hair and my makeup just melt off me, because it had to have been at least 105 in that house being closed up with no. And that was just obviously pure inexperience, it felt like I got set up. So I did my best to open up windows, but it only made it worse, actually, for me. And so then I thought, what if I set up my little table outside under the tree where there's a breeze? Because then I can wave at people as they walk by. And it was just a day of heat and looky-loos. It wasn't anybody that I had called to come and see, because I was so green and nobody had trained me. And so at the end of that day, I'll never forget, I got back, and back then Poppy was my boyfriend. He wasn't my husband yet. And I just said, you know what? I've had it. I was like, I have always wanted to live in LA. I've always wanted to live on Venice Beach. I was like, I hate 105 degrees. I don't want to do real estate. I was like, I am going to go ahead and write in my 2-week notice. I'm going to give an agent in my office, you know, the contract, and get her in touch with the woman, and, you know, going to make that happen. So I'm not going to leave anybody hanging, but I'm packing up. I'm heading out. So you want to jump aboard? Great. You need to stay on? I got to go. I was like, this heat has killed me for the last time. And he's like, no, great, LA. When do we go? I'm like, yeah, like the day after tomorrow. I was like, let's get out of here. And that was like my first and only real experience trying to be a real estate agent. So I completely applaud you. And I also saw on your Facebook that you had evolved from working in a brokerage to starting your own.
Yeah, it's funny, every time I start heading in the wrong direction, as we were kind of talking about earlier, God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, will say, no, that's a no-go. You're not supposed to go that way. You're supposed to be over here. And me being the stubborn Taurus that I am, I constantly still try to go this way. And, you know, it's something that's been evolving in my head for a while, because I want to do it different. You know, I find, and the biggest pushback I see and the biggest obstacle I see with so many agents, and I say this because I've been to Houston and I've trained agents there, and total different mindset. You know, I've trained agents in Dallas, totally different mindset. What's interesting about San Antonio is so many brokerages are still stuck in that we're real estate salespeople. Mm-hmm. No, you're not. You're real estate consultants. You're educators. You have no business selling anything. Your business is to take care of that client. And I want to do things just a little bit differently. You know, so rockstar real estate is basically going to be my thing.
Is that what you call it?
Yeah, because I want to train rock stars. You know,
awesome.
I don't want the average agent. I don't want that mindset. I don't want that mentality. You know, I feel cohesion is incredibly important. And when you have that cohesion with people who believe the same way you do, who think the same way you do, you can really become a runaway success with it, because you have so many people who are on the same page.
Yeah.
You know, and what I do is I say, okay, we're not doing it the old way. We're not doing all these nonsense flyers and postcards and things like that, because I'm going to tell you, in people's heads, yeah, sure, they'll have your little cutesy real estate magnet calendar on their refrigerator and say, oh yeah, I need to call her at some point. But you know what's going to happen? Later on that night, they're going to be on Facebook and they're going to see a real estate agent that they've been kind of, you know, following. They're going to say something interesting or do something interesting, and guess who's going to get that lead? You know? And I want to train around using blogging, i.e. content marketing, you know, educating people using content, because you're not selling them anything.
Right.
And that's the beauty of it. That's why it works so well. You're selling them absolutely nothing. You're educating them on things. You know, and as a real estate agent, you have to wear about 17,000 different hats. I mean, you know, you're a real estate agent, you're a psychologist, you're a marriage counselor, you're, I mean, you're pretty much everything. And with all those different hats that you're wearing as a real estate agent, it enables you to say, okay, well, let me write something informational about credit. What do you need to know about your credit before you buy a house? You know, what do you need to know about how much money you should save, or how can you save for money for a down payment, or what is the expectation? You know, if you inform people, they're like, okay, well, now I feel a little bit more informed. So you're empowering them so that the next time when you're posting pictures of a listing or, you know, doing something like that, you're not the run-of-the-mill average agent who is more, in this day and age, like a network marketer, which is just annoying. And I'm sorry, network marketers, but you are. And you know, it really is. You're educating people, you're bringing them in, and you're saying to them, okay, here, let me educate you about this. And then they're like, okay, now I feel empowered. But guess what? You've already planted the seed in the back of their mind going, this lady knows her stuff. Mm-hmm. This lady knows her stuff better than this person who's just like, oh, come see me at my open house. I'm here again. You know, they're like, I'm going to go to the person who's been a source of information to me, who's been valuable to me.
In that coaching process. Yeah. Because it is, I mean, it's a huge life event. Buying a home, especially a first-time buyer home, it's a huge event. I love how you say, like, I'm a marriage counselor, I'm a psychologist, because I'm sure you've had some interesting clients. I
have had many interesting clients. I always loved it when they would decide to build new, because, you know, when they would go do the selects together, I saw many couples on the verge of divorce. Oh. And it was usually over the kitchen, which I never really understood. It was usually over kitchen cabinets and countertops, and they were like, if I don't kill this man by the end of the selection appointment, and I'm like, it's okay, calm down, it'll be all right. Because, you know, the guy wants to, you know, not spend as much money. The woman's like, oh, I want to throw all this money into the kitchen. And, you know, the guy's like, oh, and, you know, it's just crazy. But
that is funny.
I mean, and you see a lot of things, too, when you're a foreclosure specialist. And this was probably before we were friends on Facebook. But I remember one time I walked in and I had a foreclosure. People would get angry when they would get their houses foreclosed on. So they would intentionally do damage to them. Oh. And one day I walked in to a house that I got a ready to list on from HUD, and it was literally full of live chickens. And we're not talking a farmhouse, we're not talking a house out in the country, we're talking a normal, like, tract-built cookie cutter home. And I walked in and I couldn't help but laugh. I mean, it stunk to high heaven. But I took a picture and I put it on Facebook and I said, well, it looks like somebody cock-blocked my listing.
And there you go. That's one way to describe it.
Yes.
Yes.
But, you know, it got a lot of good, you know, people laughed at it, you know, it gets you that type of attention. But that's another way that I teach to market, you know, just be different, be unique, be real. You know, quit trying to be this cookie cutter person, because your objective is to attract people who are like-minded.
Right.
Because if you work with like-minded people, how much easier is it to get them through an emotional event than, you know, like me being a kind of gregarious, you know, outspoken person. If I'm working with that timid little, you know, individual, I'm not going to be able to service that client appropriately. Now, there's another agent who probably could, who's a better personality match. Mm-hmm. But, you know, that's one of the ways that, you know, when I do lead generation, I pass out leads based on my agents' personalities. I look at who's going to be a good fit with this, you know, who's going to fit well with who. So you got to know your people really well.
That's awesome. You know, after I had that taste of real estate, I was like, I had spent too much money on all the classes. I had spent too much money on all the flyers. I had spent too much money on my little stuff. And the gas, riding people around and going to different open houses myself, even though I did enjoy the parties when they had the fun parties. But yeah, I mean, but now I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish you would have been my broker, because I would have been a rock star real estate agent, because I would have been educated myself, and then I could have educated others. So if you're out there thinking about it, Shauna's your girl. Now, you're talking about how people destroy their house sometimes when they go into foreclosure, and it is very emotional. And I watched it a little bit on reality TV. Do you watch those reality TV real estate?
You know, sometimes yes, and other times I'm like, okay, that's scripted, or, you know, oh, that one hit too close to home. But, like, you know, I've watched the Flip This House stuff, you know, and like, you know, I remember vividly when they had the cat house. They bought this house sight unseen, and it was a hoarder, and she had all these cats, and they had to go in and gut the whole thing. And I've seen it all. I say I've seen it all. Every time I say that, I'm shown that I haven't.
Yes, the universe has a way of saying, guess what's behind door number 2?
Precisely. And, you know, I've seen people flood the top of their home, and we're talking beautiful, beautiful $300,000, $400,000 homes in Stone Oak. They would flood the top of their home. There'd be mold all through the walls. It wouldn't qualify for anything other than cash because of all the mold damage. You know, people would rip out the copper wiring in the AC and sell it.
And I've always heard of that. Like, they're like, oh, if your AC unit isn't enclosed in the gate, you have that risk of people just driving by. And I'm like, well, who's buying this copper? Like, if there's not a market, then how does all that underworld shady thing?
I can't speak intelligently about how all that works. Yeah. All I know is that I've gone into way too many houses and I've seen it happen. You know, the man and I have an investment property, and we had they stole all the wiring out of that one, so we had to rewire the whole house.
And that's hardcore. I've seen it where they've poured concrete down the toilets.
Oh yeah, they have.
And I was just like, is that just a reality TV thing, or did that really happen? And, you know, sometimes you say you can tell, but it sounds like it's reality.
Oh, it's very much a reality. I mean, people get so angry, you know, for whatever reason that they're angry. I mean, you know, and it's hard to see that, because you know that there was a lot of frustration around that, and, you know, no one wants to lose their home, and nobody wants to, you know, face the possibility.
And it's shocking at that level of, you know, the amount that the house is worth, that you would see that behavior, right? Because you would think it's a higher level thinking that, you know, exudes more of that money. And
well, sadly, you know, a lot of people, back when the real estate market was booming, there was a lot of people that bought more house than what they could afford.
Oh, the liar loans. That's what was going on.
You know, and, you know, then we had a recession, and we had people losing jobs and getting laid off. And, you know, those two things in combination with each other is precisely what caused the market to crash. You know, they were giving loans to anybody that had a pulse.
Wow.
You know, so back in those days, that was actually when I bought my house, but we bought way less than what we could afford. Not because we were anticipating anything, but just because that's how we lived.
Right.
You know,
it's nice to sleep with both eyes closed at night instead of one eye open thinking, okay, who's going to repo what?
Right, exactly.
So that's really smart, living within your means. And that's, I'm sure, when you counsel your buyers, you know, live within your means.
Well, and I take things into account, like, you know, you need to account for 1% of the value of your house is going to go to maintenance. every year. Another 1% is going to go to repair. We also have to assess your HOA dues if there are any. We also have to assess, what it's going to cost you, because generally people are going to want to move in. They're going to want to make some upgrades. What is it going to cost you at the end of the day? And what is that going to do for you? And if you don't take all that into account, buyers get so payment focused, and they just, I can afford that payment. No, it's not just the payment. There's other things that go into it, things that you might not be thinking about. You're coming from an apartment. You might not have a separate trash bill. Guess what? Now you do. You're used to a certain electric bill or water bill shared. Guess what? Now that's going to change too. So you really have to know money in order to talk intelligently to people so that they don't get themselves in over their heads, because they're looking at this going, oh yeah, I can afford this and this and this. But most people, and I've shown homes from the $70,000 range to the $700,000 range. And everybody wants something more, something different. If a home is a 90% fit, guess what? It's home, because you can adjust that 10%. But no, it's very much a counseling process.
It sounds awesome. I mean, you're definitely going to want to read her blogs, and we're going to go into that in a minute. But you touched on something, that you've trained agents in Houston and trained agents in Dallas, and how that's a different mindset from each other and from San Antonio. And the baby's godfather is moving to Dallas from Houston, and the areas that he's telling me he's looking at, they're so congested that people are just buying sight unseen because they want to buy a home because their company is moving there. And what is all that about? I was like, what's so exciting about Dallas? Of course, all my Dallas people. It's just I've only been there maybe once or twice, so I really don't know, why are all these companies moving up there? I would think they would want to come down to San Antonio because our property values are, less expensive, is what I'm imagining. But you tell me, because you're the...
Well, you have to look at the gross per capita income for the city. San Antonio is lower than Dallas, Houston, Austin.
Okay.
People in general make more money in Houston, Dallas, Austin than what they do in San Antonio.
Okay.
But our cost of living is also lower, so it's a double-edged sword. There's a lot of excitement in Dallas. It's a very forward-thinking city. San Antonio, we're a little bit slower. We're a little bit more relaxed here. We're a little bit more like, we'll get it done. We'll get around to it when we get around to it. And you really do see that when you talk to real estate agents in other markets, because, I'm talking to, for example, a 60-year-old agent here, who probably doesn't know how to copy and paste, and I say that with love to the people who I've trained who didn't know how to copy and paste. And then I'm up in Dallas, and I've got a 60-year-old agent coming to me and going, oh yeah, I'm using Hootsuite, and I'm using these tools, and this social media marketing, and this, and this, and this. Whereas, when I was working at my first brokerage, I was dealing with all these people who were like, I don't know what Outlook is. I don't know what Facebook is. What the hell? Twitter? What is that? And again, with love.
Nothing but love. Nothing but love.
It's just a very different mindset. It's like they're already pre-programmed in those areas to say, okay, well, this is what I have to do for my business, and I understand that, so they take that extra time to grasp on it, whereas, agents here would rather sit in a contracts class than they would a social media class. And, it's just a very, very different mindset.
Yeah, I know my dad's one of those people where he doesn't even believe in credit cards or a bank card. He's like, nope, I get my check, I take it to the bank, I cash it, I go around and drive to all the places that want my money, and then whatever I have left, that's my budget. And so he stays out of a lot of trouble, but then he misses on a lot of conveniences too. Yeah. So I understand that mindset where you're coming from, where they're like, oh, no, I just rather go meet them. I don't want to go on Facebook and post things to, engage people.
And again, I say this to agents all the time. In today's world, unless you make that digital handshake first, the chances of you getting in front of them are slim to none.
That's so true. Amen. Because I love Facebook, and I get to see all my friends in LA, and even when they travel to Australia and stuff, it's like I get to see what's going on. I get to see people who are doing really cool things with their lives, and I'm just intrigued by that, obviously. So I was like, Shauna, I need to see you. But now you're doing your rock star real estate, but then you're also doing your blunt, because that's how you found a way to channel all this great information. And that's what's so awesome about Shauna, the way I had to have her on, is because it's not like she's trying to hoard this information in her brain. She's like, blah, let me give it to you, and take it and run with it, and use it as a blessing in your life. And that's why I was like, I know another reason I had to have beautiful Shauna on today. So tell me about your blogging. How did that start? Because I was asking you earlier, I was like, isn't blogging just like an elongated Facebook post? And just like, well, so I'll let you tell me.
Not exactly, but I fell backwards into it. You know, when I was working as a real estate agent in that market, I was like, okay, well, what can I do to really set myself apart? What can I do to make myself different than everybody else? You know, because I'm seeing all these signs in places and I'm like, okay, that's all well and good. You know, there's flyers on top of signs that I'm watching kids, you know, yank out and toss on the block. I was like, all right, what can I do that's different? So I started thinking, well, you know, I've always loved to write. You know, I've been a writer since I was in 3rd grade, and I said, let me channel that. So I started researching different venues that I could write for. And all of a sudden I realized, wait a minute, I'm getting paid up front to write about something I like to do, and then I can promote what I like to do on social media, and I also get paid passively for every person that clicks through that link. Wow.
Wow.
So
huge light bulb.
Right.
Huge light bulb.
And all of a sudden, the more I started doing that, the more money I started generating passively and also actively through the writing, and then that validated my real estate career, because not only, you know, if I had a client come to me and say, oh, well, you know, I don't know what the credit requirements are to buy a house. You know what? I wrote an article on that. Here you go. And boom, you know, there's my client. I'm giving them helpful information, not some, you know, nonsense flyer that's like, hey, call me. You know, I was actually giving them something that they could sink their teeth into and get excited about. And, you know, then they would always come back to me and go, okay, that's great. That's so informational. You know, I've had people come to me and say, would you mind writing an article on XYZ? You know, because I'd really like to read. Oh, absolutely. You know, so it gives me plenty of topic fodder, which excites me.
Yeah. I love how you got into it. Now, tell me about how you got into just the grandparent story. How they were the ones who inspired you.
I was always a very introverted child. I was very, very, very shy.
You're so fun, though. I'm like, what?
I don't know how that happened. It's like I was telling you earlier, it's either alcohol or Xanax, probably a combination of both. But no, I was always very introverted. I was terrified to talk to people. I was that little kid who would like hide behind her grandma, you know. I was just terrified of people. And I used to write a lot, you know, on tablets and scribble things down. So when I was in 3rd grade, they brought me a word processor. So there I was sitting in my room from 3rd grade on, just writing little stories and writing little things.
I love that. I could just envision you too, sitting on your little bed. Just
yeah.
I'm good, Grandma.
And oh, dinner time? Okay. Da, 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 and, you know, then go back to the room and write more.
Wow.
And it's funny to watch even my 13-year-old now kind of emulate that, because where is she all the time? She's up in her room drawing, animating, you know, doing YouTube videos, things like that. And I mean, if any kid keeps me on my toes when it comes to social media, it's that one. I mean, you know, holds up her phone to me yesterday. How many Instagram subscribers do you have, Mom? I'm like, not as many as you. I don't like you right now.
That is okay. See, we need that, though, because I just barely got on Instagram. And just randomly I post, you know, and I'll put pictures of my corsets or my wives or something. And then I see, oh, so-and-so's following you on Instagram. And so I get these, but I'm like, how do I go back to it on my thing? And my son, who was, when I got my iPhone, he was like 3.5. He had to teach me how to use my iPhone. So I'm all thinking, well, maybe I can get him to teach me about this Instagram thing, because they learn like sponges.
Well, and you know, a lot of the videos that I've done have been training videos, and you know, even for the marketing side of the things that I do, which is my Valkyrie business consulting, you know, I do that as well to really help people, and I've done a case study for free with people, and they've seen it make a difference in their business.
But the business consulting,
yeah.
Is that part of the Rockstar Real Estate?
I chase too many rabbits.
I love that saying, I chase too many rabbits. I chase rabbits too.
I chase way too many rabbits. But the marketing thing is basically I can consult any business to do what my realtors do.
Okay.
And I did a case study, and I had a friend of mine who was an author for, you know, she's been an author for several years. I've known her for 30. We grew up together, and, you know, she was like, my novel sales increased. I made money, you know, while I did this. She's like, I'm going to continue doing this. And, you know, it works. It works for any business model. It doesn't matter if it's not just relative to real estate. It can work for any business.
And it's basically about content marketing.
Exactly.
Blogging.
Right.
So now you're blogging full-time, part-time. Where are you at on your blogging?
Right now I'm in full-time purging and remodeling mode since we moved into the man's house.
Oh,
so.
That's right. How exciting. Now, y'all aren't fighting over kitchen cabinets.
No, because he's traveling.
Oh, well, see, that's the ideal time.
And I already got the permission. You can do whatever you want in the house. Yes.
Yes, this is the budget. Just don't fall outside that line,
So
and
I
you're
was like,
good to go.
okay, you got it, babe. I'm going to do whatever I want in the house. The only thing I'm not allowed to do is get more puppies.
Ah,
So, because we have 4.
Me too.
So
I only have 2.
yeah, I'm not allowed to get any more puppies. But that's okay.
I love puppies.
I do too, but we've got, the little pug, and then we've got a kind of mixed breed dog, and then we've got my 2 German Shepherds.
So they just grow up.
Yeah, they get bigger and bigger.
Now, my
and bigger.
dogs, when I got, they started eating away at the drywall and the rug. And I remember before we got our puppies, I went to Petco, and I was like, and we already ordered them. And it was somebody on it was Craigslist, and just down the street here off of Bandera, and he was going to sell his Pomeranian. So we had arranged a meeting, and my little boy and I went, and we saw the puppies, and we said, okay, we want this one. And then I was like, okay, well, we need a girl and a boy, because I didn't want to femme my kid out, right? So I said, we'll get you the boy and me the girl. And so they said, okay, wait until they're full 8 weeks, and then we'll do the transaction. So I went to Petco all excited, and I'm going to get these little Pomeranians. It's going to be awesome, and they're teeny tiny. And oh, you're going to need a brush, you're going to need shampoo, you're going to need all these puppy toys, you're going to need puppy clothes. And I was like, okay. Then I got the puppies, and I noticed that parts of my drywall was going, and parts of my rug. And then I wanted to go back and tell her, you shouldn't have sold me all that little puppy clothes. You should have sold me drywall, and you should have sold me carpet replacement, and that spray that keeps them from eating all of it. I was like, this is all just sitting there in the pile. And it really did just deconstruct my apartment. And so, do your dogs destroy, or are they past that point?
For the most part, they're past that point.
Good.
They're pretty good.
But I think you should warn people when you have animals and you're bringing them into a house.
Yeah, they can do some damage. I mean, I've had a German Shepherd eat an entire door casing.
Wow.
And we've had to replace the entire door casing. I've gone through multiple pairs of shoes, and if anything ticks me off, it's that. We do not do shoe sacrificing.
Oh, yeah, that is brutal.
No,
every girl needs some shoes.
Don't touch the shoes. You can, you eat daddy's shoes all day. Leave mommy's shoes alone. But it's just they can be very destructive, and try to channel that through exercise, things like that. I've watched a lot of the dog whisperer stuff, and I try to follow his advice as best I can, but sometimes I find myself a little short on time in the day, so I'm kind of like, okay, are you getting walked today? Are you not getting walked today? Can I just put you outside and let you chase the other German Shepherd that lives next door up and down the fence line? And, most of the time it's, I'm going to put you outside and let you chase the other German Shepherd up there. I mean, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, and dog, when we were looking for a house, a dog actually discouraged me from buying one in a different area because I loved the house and it was a new development, but there was a dog right on the other side of that fence, and that dog sounded really mean. And I thought to myself, I can't let my little boy just run outside in this backyard, because what if that dog by chance jumps or crawls under or does something and mutilates my child in my yard? So that's something when you counsel your people, when you're taking them around, like, hey, if you're going to have big animals or certain kinds of animals, be alert of your neighbors as well, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, you got to know who your neighbors are, and in this day and age, most of us don't. We've got no idea who our neighbors are. We see their cars parked in the driveway, we see them come and go. I mean, very few people converse with their neighbors anymore.
Wasn't there that terrible movie, like Love Thy Neighbor or Kill Thy Neighbor or something like where it was like, it's something where you moved in, you got your dream house, but then the neighbor was like this psycho guy who didn't like it if you didn't pick up your newspaper fast enough, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So how do you counsel those people who are looking, besides just driving around? Do you recommend they go to some of the little HOA meetings?
They can always do that. You can generally tell a lot about a person by how they keep the front of their home. If you're noticing a lot of trash thrown around, if you're noticing a lot of stuff like that, you kind of have an idea about what that house looks like on the inside. And knowing that the inside of that house also affects your property value, it's kind of a good indicator. Many times I've driven up to the front of a house with a client, and curb appeal is terrible. you know, they just let it go. And it looked great in the pictures, but they just let it go. And no, we're not even going to waste our time. Moving on to the next one.
And move on. Yeah,
You know?
and so when you blog about not only look at the house, but look at
your neighbors. Look at the surrounding area.
Yeah.
Because all of that impacts the value of your home. In just not now, but also in the future.
And your peace of mind.
Yeah.
Because if it's driving you crazy.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, if you're going out, and I've had dogs kill showings, I don't know how many times. I've had cats kill. I've walked into homes that dogs may be, you know, yay high, and, you know, the notes on the showing instructions say friendly dog in laundry room. And it's Cujo. And, you know, all of a sudden, you know, both me and the buyers are running out of the house. You know, this thing's chasing after us. It's nipping at the ankles, you know. I had one client once looking at a $500,000 property, beautiful custom Zars pool in the back, and we go out in the backyard, and here comes the little dog running up. Here comes another little dog, you know, and the dogs are progressively getting bigger. Well, he's standing by the pool with his, you know, brand new iPhone, you know, very, very straight-laced kind of guy, and all of a sudden the Great Dane comes out of nowhere and knocks him in the pool.
No.
That was probably one of the funniest, and I was trying so hard not to laugh.
Oh my God.
I mean, because he was so mad.
Oh my God.
But the whole scenario to me was hilarious, so I was trying to keep it together. But I'm telling you right now, when I got in the car, I could not stop laughing for a good hour.
Oh yeah, definitely. So if you're out there in the home market, whether you're a buyer or a seller, be mindful, because yeah, you don't want
and get the pets out. I mean, like, you know, my personal home is going on the market, and I made sure it was vacant, no pets, you know, pet odor removed, all that, because it will kill a sale. People will walk in and they will smell it.
They'll be like, oh, I don't want to deal with it.
You know,
and it could be an easy fix, but
yeah,
that already put a negative thing in their head.
Right.
So where do you think the real estate market is going now? Because we already survived that 2008 huge crash. We've been on the up. Do you think it's still going? Or?
Well, real estate's always cyclical. You know, there's always ups and downs in the real estate market. And if you look at it historically, even back from the 1950s, you know, and even from the inception of FHA loans, it's always been an upward, downward motion. You know, sometimes the downs are more than not. And, you know, I think we have enough safeguards in place with, you know, the Dodd-Frank legislation that was passed for the lenders to not make the same mistakes of, you know, giving people loans just because they're breathing. You know, so I think there's safeguards there, but there's always going to be people who get into trouble. There's always going to be people who get in over their heads. There's always a loophole. You know, there's always going to be short sales. There's always going to be foreclosures. Well, the level of which is what fluctuates.
Well, every market has a cycle to it, so I get that part. But what I love about real estate is that God isn't making any more land. So get in when you can, and eventually there'll be a use for it, whether you do it or you sell out.
Well, and you know, there's a lot of people, even investors, who will buy the single family residential, and what the man and I are looking to do is actually go into multifamily investing, you know, apartment complexes and things like that. It's a great way to earn passive income. You just have to know how to do it. And that's one thing people can contact me to learn more about, and I can steer them in the right direction.
And so now do you already have your Rockstar Real Estate website up, or is that something?
It's still under construction.
Okay.
But it should be done pretty soon, and it is very different. It's a very different flavor. It is not your typical real estate website.
I have to get you a Rockstar sign. Get you a Rockstar sign. Is that fun? Rockstar. And well, you know, and then the blogging, and that's how you're just consulting every business owner, not only the agents who work under you. And then how can they find you on your blog and take advantage of all your yummy, delicious?
Easiest way to find me is through Facebook or Twitter. Facebook, it's just facebook.com, Shauna.Zamarripa. And then Twitter is @WitchOfCibolo, which is a nickname my agents gave me because I'm the Witch of Cibolo. They got me a magic wand and a broom and everything.
No. How fun is that? Is the wand like all blinged out?
Yeah, it's a little pink wand.
Oh, I love it. I need a wand, puppy. I need a little wand. And then Zamarripa, ZAMA.
RRIPA.
Oh, RR.
Yeah, 2 R's. Everybody wants to do 2 P's. It's 2 R's, 1 P.
It is. Why is that?
I don't know. I think it's because you put like a little bit more emphasis on the end.
The Rippa.
It just kind of sounds
She'll
cooler.
rip ya.
Yeah.
She'll rip you one if you don't stay in line.
Yeah,
She'll
pretty
let
much
you know.
is true also.
That's the thing. Okay, good. So then any events coming up, anything that like, do you ever like have the socials to bring in people who might be interested in becoming a rock star real estate?
I actually do a lot of online consulting. I'm big on Google Hangouts. People can come and find a lot of my information on my YouTube channel. I make my trainings public. I don't charge anybody for it because guess what? I figured out how to make money on that end too.
Yeah,
passively. So,
brilliant. And so then you coach other on how to make money too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm definitely going to your training. When are your trainings? Where are they at?
I'll publicize.
Okay,
I'll put them out.
I'm going to be stalking
Facebook.
you now.
That's fine.
Yeah, I'm a stalker.
You'll be one of many. I'll keep the doormat warm for you.
Thank you. Well, that's the thing is I usually click the like buttons on everything because, I like to have that interaction. Like, yeah, I'm looking at your stuff, and I liked it because I have a lot of people who tell me, oh, I see your stuff all the time, and I know I never click anything like or comment, but I see it, and I love it, and I'm inspired, and I'm
sometimes that like button can go wrong because, you got that passive-aggressive thing sometimes going on, like, I'm having a really bad day. Like. What do you mean you like that I'm having a bad day?
Yeah, I get that.
So, and then they don't comment, so you're like, are you being passive-aggressive or, or...
Like, who are you?
Are you just acknowledging it? I was like, can we get some kind of clarification here? And I've straight up called people out. I'm like, what do you mean you like that I'm having a bad day?
Yeah, and that's what I love about your posts too on Facebook is that you just really give away. You're like, okay, the next person who's coming in is not getting a hug and just throw chocolate at me and run away.
Mm-hmm. Chocolate and wine, whatever. You just leave it by the door and get out.
And go.
I mean, there's been times I've had agents come in my office and it's like the 15th time that day they've come in and I'm like, no, just no.
Whatever it is, no.
No.
But then I've seen it too when you're so excited that you finally saw a light bulb go on in someone's head and you're just like, yeah, like that just
that
really...
moment is the moment I live for. I love that. I mean, the second, because I can explain it to them and then when they start actually doing it, and then all of a sudden they're like, wow, I actually did this, and I watched the little light bulb and I'm like, yes, you get it now.
Yeah.
And I live for that moment. I love that moment.
When I have those moments, I go, ee! I get excited. I'm like, yes, but mine's more about the posture when I finally get them to realize, hey, grow through your spine. Don't be slouching all the time. But gravity is friendly to nobody. Okay, so it's going to be facebook.com/Shauna Zamarripa, and it's 2 R's, 1 P. So don't get it twisted. Don't get it messed up because you may end up somewhere else you don't want to be. And then look also out for the Rockstar Real Estate Agency, which I'm kind of tempted. I'm like, you know what? If I have someone like this who's going to mentor me, there's a chance that I might be able to make some money. When I had someone just trying to create a little sales agent out of me, I lost a lot of money in real estate. And I know a lot of people go into real estate thinking, oh, that's where the money is. But I tell them, oh, make sure you're working with somebody. And now I'll be able to know who to refer them to say, somebody who's really going to guide you and educate you, not just try to create an agent, a salesperson out of you. So it was so inspiring to have you on. And please give hugs to your beautiful daughter.
I will.
Because that is just like the most incredible story. So don't forget, log on to facebook.com, Shauna Zamarripa. And then until we see you next time on SA Talk Today. Bye-bye.
Bye.